Alright, are you ready? One of the finest women I have ever met is my great aunt, Margie Leah Perry. She was truly such an incredible woman, and although I am still so saddened and distraught, I am so thankful I had the opportunity to spend 17 wonderful years with her and make so many great memories I will never forget. My great aunt had many special characteristics, but the characteristics most worthy were her love for God, her love for her family, and her hardworking nature. Margie Lee was one of the godliest women I've ever met. As a child, she went to church with her family and lived in a Christian household. By the age of around 14, she was saved, baptized, and had joined Longport Baptist Church. When she was older, with a husband and children, she and her husband decided to raise their children in church as well. I didn't have the opportunity to meet Margie until I was around 4 years old, and she was 61. I didn't really get close with her until I was 11 years old, and from that time forward, I spent almost every Saturday from sunrise until sunset at her house. It was a part of her daily routine to read her Bible every morning while she would drink her coffee. We would always say prayer before any and every meal we would eat at her house. Anyone who knew her knew that she would go to church every Wednesday night and Sunday morning, and that if she didn't show up for church, that something was wrong. One of her favorite things to do was to sing. We loved to walk around the house and sing Adele, but her favorite songs to sing were gospel songs. Amazing Grace and Beulah Lamb were two of her favorites, and I would do anything to sing those with her again. She sang in the choir at church, and everyone there knew how much she loved it. So at her funeral, we sang gospel songs because we knew that's what she would love the most. One thing about Margie is that she always put herself last and everyone else first. No matter who you were or where you came from, Margie would treat you like you were one of her own. She loved to teach younger people about hard work and how important it was to work if you wanted to get anywhere in life. When my dad was growing up, he would go to her farm and she would teach him how to take care of the land. When I was around 11 and started going over there, she taught me the exact same things. Every Saturday while my great uncle and my dad were outside working, Margie would be inside cooking a big meal for us because she knew that we were working very hard. Before we would even start our day's work, she would get up extra early to make sure we had a well-cooked meal before we started the day. She would also go above and beyond to make sure we had a dessert every day at lunch. If there was ever a Saturday where I had overworked myself to the point where I was sick, she would make me come inside, she would get me a nice cold drink, make me lay on the couch, and baby me until it was time for me to go home. On days where I would hurt myself, she would always doctor my wounds up like she was a doctor and make sure they were bandaged so that nothing could come in contact with them and make them worse. If there were days where I had a lot of work to do with no help, as a 70-year-old woman, she would get her work clothes on and help me just like any 30-year-old man would do. When she knew I was out of school for a week, she would always invite me to come stay the night and bring a friend, and she would get up early and cook us a big nice breakfast, do our hair, do our makeup, and take us shopping. But for me, the time when she was the most selfless was the last few months she was here. Margie was very sick, and she had a stroke and was pretty much homebound. It was almost time for me to graduate high school, and she knew it meant the world to me that she would be there to watch me walk across the stage, but she had always had so much faith in me that I could do anything I dreamed of. She made sure she had everything portable so that way she could be there to sit for the few hours of my graduation and the meal after. But exactly 1 week before my graduation, she passed away unexpectedly. I know if she would have made it, she would have been there, no matter what it would have taken, because she knows it would have made my day to see her there. Even though she couldn't be there with me in person, I know she was still there cheering me on when I walked across the stage. Lastly, Margie was such a hard worker. While her kids were young, her husband was in an accident and passed away. It was up to her to be the main caretaker of the family until she was remarried years later. She worked 12 to 14-hour shifts every day, and when she would finally get off and get home, she had 30 acres to tend to as well with 2 kids. She spent her afternoons and her weekend trimming fence rows, tending to the garden, cutting down trees, splitting wood, bush hogging the fields, training horses, and anything else that needed to be done, all with just the help of her 2 kids. When she decided she wanted to build a house on the land she had worked and saved everything she had so she could pay for the house in all cash. As I have mentioned before, if I had a lot of work to do in one day, she would come and work with me at 70 years old. She would do anything such as trimming fence rows, trimming bushes, cutting down trees, splitting wood, stacking wood, and the list goes on. In conclusion, there will never be anyone in the world that can take the place of my great Aunt Margie. She's the woman who is a second mother to me and the woman who I look up to and dream that I can become half of the woman she was. I miss her more than anything, and I cannot wait until I can see her again one day.